Skill-based matchmaking is one of the most hated aspects of multiplayer FPS games in today's era.
Right now, there's this thing that really plagues games, in my opinion, called skill-based matchmaking.
Skill-based matchmaking.
Which really pisses me off, which basically, anytime you're in the top, it basically ruins games for top 10% of people.
But with the new release of XDefiant, I think it's finally shedding light on why popular franchises like Call of Duty use heavy amounts of SBMM in their games despite all the backlash. Skill-based matchmaking simply makes too much sense not to use. Now, before you smack that dislike button for uttering those words, please watch through the entire video, because I don't agree or even like skill-based matchmaking in games. However, the science behind it is finally showing, which is what I want to discuss in today's video. As a lifelong Call of Duty fan and former collegiate competitive player, XDefiant has been the breath of fresh air that I've been searching for a while. It plays very similarly to Call of Duty, but with one key difference being no skill-based matchmaking in any multiplayer lobby. I'd consider myself in the top 1% of all COD players, and this is not me having an ego. I've literally been playing these games since I was 12 years old, and I've competed at a high amateur level, which is more than what most can say about their COD skills. Because of my level of skill, I've always avoided multiplayer in most COD games other than when I'm camo grinding, and opt to only play the ranked modes that are offered. This is just because being in the top percent of all Call of Duty players makes every single lobby you join incredibly sweaty, and if I wanted to play an incredibly sweaty lobby, I'd rather just load up ranked play. That's why the absence of skill-based matchmaking in XDefiant has been such a nice change of pace. As someone who considers themselves quite skilled, I have thoroughly enjoyed the challenge and excitement of playing against a wide variety of players and not having to use meta guns just to compete. The lack of skill-based matchmaking has allowed me to win more games, get more kills, all while trying way less hard. Like last night, I was top fragging while listening to YouTube videos with no game audio. This would never be possible in a game like Call of Duty, and it's one of the reasons I'm having such a good time. But unfortunately, not everyone shares this sentiment. I was absolutely shocked when I saw how split players were on XDefiant, with many players stating XDefiant was even more demanding than Call of Duty, because they frequently faced highly skilled opponents. I've seen thousands of posts on Twitter of people claiming their lobbies were even more sweaty than Call of Duty and that they weren't having a good time. This scenario exposes a critical function of skill-based matchmaking. It shields less experienced players from consistently encountering top-tier opponents, thereby enhancing their overall gaming experience, but also making them think they're much better than they actually are. I saw this thread on Twitter and it basically summarizes this exact point. So someone posted a Twitter meme of someone happy after escaping skill-based matchmaking in COD. But if you read the replies to this Twitter meme, they were entirely disagreeing, with this commenter saying, yeah, nah, it's still insanely sweaty. There's like 2 out of 10 matches that are normal. I don't know, I'd rather stay with COD. And then someone responded to him saying, skill-based matchmaking has been holding your hand, amigo. Hate to break it to you, but XDefiant is a fair game for anyone at all. But the original commenter doubled down and stated, if you saw my lobbies, you wouldn't say that. Now, this is just one example of thousands of players who are finding XDefiant to be even more difficult than Call of Duty when it comes to their lobbies. And this has made me realize one major thing. There is now an entire generation of gamers who think they are much better than they actually are because of skill-based matchmaking. Because it's been in Call of Duty for so long, at least for the past 6 or 7 years, the new generation of Call of Duty players think they are all in the top 1%. However, when they move to a very similar game in XDefiant and are getting slaughtered in non-skill-based matchmaking lobbies, it's exposing what their real skill level is actually at. So if skill-based matchmaking is doing so much damage to the FPS gamer's perception, why is it prevalent in almost every multiplayer game today? To understand why skill-based matchmaking is so prevalent, it's essential to delve into the psychological science behind its implementation. Games like Call of Duty employ skill-based matchmaking to create balanced matches that cater to players of varying skill levels. This approach is grounded in the concept of the flow state, a psychological state where individuals are fully immersed and engaged in an activity. For players to enter this flow state, the challenge presented by the game must be well matched their skill level. If the game is too easy, that means your opponents are getting frustrated. And if the game is too difficult, that means you're becoming frustrated. Skill-based matchmaking helps maintain this balance, ensuring that players remain neutral the entire time they play. Essentially, Call of Duty wants everyone to have as close to a 1.0 KD as possible. They want everyone feeling like they contributed, but they don't want anyone dominating, because for someone to dominate means someone also got dominated. And let's be honest, if you're going 3-20, you're more than likely to turn off your game and go play something else. This psychology has always been known to players, but it hasn't been until XDefiant's release that we're seeing a case study in real time of all the players protected by skill-based matchmaking and all the players who are getting screwed over by skill-based matchmaking. Activision is very aware of the psychological principles underpinning player engagement and retention. They understand that to maintain a thriving and satisfied player base, they must cater to a broad spectrum of skill levels within their community. This includes everyone from novice players to those with intermediate skills, encompassing roughly the 0 to 90% skill range. These players are more likely to benefit from the balanced matches that skill-based matchmaking provides, as it prevents them from feeling overwhelmed by significantly more skilled opponents. However, the top 10% of players who are the most skilled and dedicated experience the effects of skill-based matchmaking much more intensely. These elite players often find themselves in highly competitive, sweaty lobbies where every match demands their utmost effort. Despite the increased challenge, Activision knows that this group is the most loyal and passionate about the game. Their dedication ensures that they will continue playing, driven by their love for the competitive nature of the game and their desire to improve, as well as the fact that they have the most time invested into the game already. So essentially, a publisher like Activision knows that regardless of how frustrated the top 10% gets from skill-based matchmaking, they will continue to play the game regardless of how bad of a time they're having, which to me sounds almost like an addiction, but we won't get into that in today's video. So by striking this balance, Activision ensures that the vast majority of their player base remains engaged and satisfied. The less skilled players can enjoy the game without being discouraged by constant defeats, while the top tier players continue to play, even if they're not having a good time.
Boom. I knocked one, knocked two.
I'm gonna do
He's gonna punch his monitor.
Dude!
This strategic approach helps Activision maintain a consistent player count where players will continually spend their money on microtransactions. Look, I get why skill-based matchmaking is a thing, and it's to make Activision as much money as possible. But just because I understand why it's in the game doesn't mean I still can't be unhappy about it. In my personal opinion, I think that the skill-based matchmaking should be limited to ranked modes only. One of the primary criticisms of skill-based matchmaking in casual play is that it can create an algorithmic and predictable experience. When you play in games with SBMM, the game is algorithmically trying to balance the teams as best as possible, meaning each game you play is going to be relatively close. In addition to this, players may find themselves facing similar opponents in every match, leading to a lack of variety and excitement.
That's the beauty of no skill-based matchmaking in a way, because in Call of Duty, I would have had to guaranteed carry other bad players, but even then, I'm not even trying to win. Like, I don't want to try to win.
Additionally, with having skill-based matchmaking implemented, your ping or connection to the server is going to be much worse, and this is just because the servers are trying to prioritize prioritize players of similar skill levels instead of pairing you with players that are just in the same area as you to give you the best connection.
Because instead of just going and matching people via a connection-based matchmaking, where it's like, hey, I'm this close to George, and that's how close our connections are, so we have a good connection to each other. Instead, it's like, well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and even though George is right here and we're both searching at the same time, because I'm in such a higher league than George, I'm sorry, George, I'm pretending like you're really bad at games.
It's okay.
Which,
I'm actually terrible at
okay,
games.
good.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go ahead and match the guy that's all the way in downtown LA just because of skill, and you're going to have a 3 to 4 times worse connection.
I've personally found my ping to be amazing on XDefiant, which is quite rare with brand new releases of games, especially with the servers getting stressed. But this is just because XDefiant is finding lobbies based on location and not based on skill level. So where do we go from here? Well, unfortunately, today's new players have grown up in an era where skill-based matchmaking has become a standard feature in most multiplayer games. From their first gaming experiences, these players have been introduced to environments meticulously designed to match them against opponents of similar skill levels. This system has provided them with a relatively smooth and gradual learning curve, where they can enjoy the game without facing the frustration of being consistently outplayed by more experienced gamers. As a result, the concept of grinding through difficult matches to improve their skills is somewhat foreign to them. They have become accustomed to a gameplay experience that is tailored to ensure a balance of challenge and success, rather than one that demands perseverance through overwhelming odds. In the past, multiplayer games were a true test of resilience and determination. Players who persevered through the tough games developed a deep appreciation for their progress and a profound understanding of the game's mechanics. They learned to take defeats and low KDs as lessons to improve themselves. However, with skill-based matchmaking, the gaming landscape has completely shifted. New players today are often shielded from the harsh realities of facing much stronger opponents. This system has inadvertently created a generation of gamers who may not fully appreciate the value of grinding against tougher competition. It's no doubt that the average gamer has gotten much more skilled since the early 2010s, but not to the degree that skill-based matchmaking exemplifies. So how does XDefiant solve this debate on whether SBMM has a place in gaming? Well, I think we will only have to wait a few months to find out. The ongoing reception and player retention rates of XDefiant will serve as a significant case study in this debate. If players of all skill levels continue to enjoy and engage with the game, it might suggest that skill-based matchmaking isn't as crucial in multiplayer games as previously thought, and that the COD franchise had it all wrong. The unpredictable matchups could provide a dynamic and rewarding experience for both novice and veteran players, potentially proving that a well-designed game can thrive without the need for strict matchmaking algorithms. However, if XDefiant experiences a significant drop-off in only the lower skilled players, it could indicate that skill-based matchmaking is indeed necessary in the modern era to maintain a balanced and enjoyable environment for everyone. New and less experienced players might find themselves repeatedly outmatched, leading to frustration and ultimately causing them to abandon the game. This scenario would highlight the protective role that skill-based matchmaking plays in ensuring that all players, regardless of their skill level, have a fair chance to enjoy the game and feel a sense of progression and achievement. I really don't want to give my own opinion on what I think is going to happen, but based off everything I've shown in today's video, with all the tweets I found on Twitter, I fear it may be the latter. Ultimately, the fate of XDefiant will offer valuable insights into whether or not skill-based matchmaking is a necessary evil in FPS multiplayer titles. The game's success or failure could provide a clearer understanding of the impact of matchmaking systems on player retention and enjoyment. As the FPS community continues to observe and analyze these trends, developers will be better equipped to make informed decisions about the implementation of skill-based matchmaking in future multiplayer titles. Whether skill-based matchmaking is deemed necessary or not, the the lessons learned from XDefiant will undoubtedly shape the future of multiplayer FPS games and how developers approach the ever-revolving debate on skill-based matchmaking. Subscribe to the channel and let me know your thoughts on skill-based matchmaking in the comments.